So let's talk about it with Nova. What's good, everybody? How you living? This is Nova Raw Uncut, and this video, or this recording, excuse me, I decided to go ahead and come out of my sabbatical. Been enjoying time with the family, with my daughter while she's here. But this particular issue I definitely needed to address. Like most people, we tend to not react to things that happen until it actually affects us. That's just the human response to how we handle things, and this particular recording will be no different. However, this has been an issue that's been heavy on my mind, considering how passionate I am about sports, and especially about football. For those who know me, y'all know how I roll. My introduction into doing YouTube videos and stuff like that, most of them are revolving around football. So this one will be, I can't really say no different, but it will be different in that this will be more of a commentary about off the field stuff as opposed to on the field issues. Even though this will become an on the field issue, and I'm gonna get into that in a moment. But why I also felt like it was important for me to do this recording today. Today is the birthday of one Emmett Till. For those who are not privy to who Mr. Emmett Till is, or young Emmett Till, he was a young man who was lynched back in 1955, I want to say, by a white man and two, I believe, a couple of our family members and a friend, after he had been accused of whistling and or sexually assaulting a white woman who later in her on her deathbed, I believe, or a sick bed, whatever, recanted her story and basically said it never happened. But nonetheless, he was lynched for it, brutally murdered, and his mom, on his funeral, decided to have an open casket for all of America to see. His death and that subsequent funeral played a big part, was probably one of the biggest catalysts of what became the modern civil rights movement at the time. And as they tend to say, the rest is history. So unfortunately, he was alive taken too soon, but even now, that seems to be the case that's been said many a time about many. There are many victims, and unfortunately, there are many people of color who are still going through the same issue. Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, Jordan Edwards, even most recently in Oakland, Nia Wilson. The cycle has not slowed down. Okay. For this reason, among many other reasons, certain players began to take stands on the field. They began protesting. Colin Kaepernick being the very first one in regards to his actions in regards to protesting. Now, if we all remember, this issue first raised flags because he was sitting for the national anthem, and then he met with Nate Boyer, a former Seahawk, also a former Army vet. Those two had a long conversation, and the result of that conversation was a compromise that instead of Kaepernick sitting, that he would take a knee. A knee is something that soldiers do when honoring their fallen. That is also something that athletes have generally done when one of their teammates gets hurt. Something that could considered by most who know enough of the significance of the action to be acceptable. But did that stop the controversy? No, it didn't. As a matter of fact, it blew up even worse. But however, other players started to join Kaepernick, including his teammate at the time, safety Eric Reed. Those two have essentially been blackballed from the NFL since. Now, anybody who will feel free to comment and wants to respond to this recording, if you want to talk about stats and all the other stuff, fine, I will gladly, do that with you on a separate occasion. But let's make no mistake about it, okay? Kaepernick is better, at least good enough to be one of the top 96 quarterbacks in the NFL. So you can talk about his stats as a starter or even as a backup, but as a third string, I highly doubt there's not a team in the NFL that couldn't use this guy, especially last year. And the fact that he did not make one team, let alone one workout, he's been essentially blackballed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. And as much of a case that could be made against Colin Kaepernick, there's honestly not much of a case to be made against Eric Reed, who at the current present time unsigned, and he is one of the top safeties in the league. Quote me on that, but that's fact. He's one of the top 10 safeties in the league. Okay, he's been blackballed. Kaepernick's been blackballed. There have been other players who, in essence, I wouldn't say been blackballed, but at the same time, they were cut from teams or moved from teams in regards to how they also handled their protests. Antonio Cromartie comes to mind, cut by the Indianapolis Colts. Antonio Cromartie is not a bad corner. He can still play, I believe, if he wants to. But he probably more than likely would not be touched because he also decided to take a stand and to take a knee. Dwayne Brown, who was moved from the Texans to the Seahawks because of his stance in regards to the protest and kneeling. And Dwayne Brown is a very outspoken individual in regards to matters, especially when it came to the Houston Texans and in more or less regard to the owner, Bob McNair, who I will get to also in a little bit. But this issue took serious storm in 2016 and even a little bit early in 2017, and I'm talking not so much as the calendar year but the NFL seasons. If you recall, about week 3 or week 4, when Donald Trump made his SOB comment in Alabama, that week it seemed like almost every team decided in some way, shape, or form they had to make some type of demonstration, a show of solidarity, if you will. Whether it be interlocking arms, kneeling, players on the field with the holding up the flags, so on and so forth. And then there's the Dallas Cowboys, who I will come back to in a minute. And I have to because, like I said before, we don't react to things until they tend to hit us close to home. And when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, this issue hits close to home. In any event, and I'm fast forwarding right now because I didn't intend to be on this long. I've already recorded for 8 minutes and I definitely didn't want to. But nonetheless, by the end of the 2017 regular season, very few players were kneeling. When the playoffs started, there wasn't one team, not one single team, who had a player kneel. Okay? In essence, this national anthem protest that had been hijacked since from the beginning, because for those who weren't listening, didn't care to listen, or didn't know that he spoke out about this, when Kaepernick initially did this, he clearly stated his reasonings for his protest. Okay, They had nothing to do with the anthem. As a matter of fact, he made sure to express his love for country, his love for the military, and for those who work in public service. His issues were about police brutality and social and economic injustice, okay? Let's reiterate. Police brutality, social and economic injustice were the reasons for his protest. Okay, now that we got that clear, what has been dubbed the anthem protest should have been a dead issue by the time the playoffs started last year, because not one single person, again, not one single participant in the NFL playoffs in 2017 kneeled at all. So, as much as the media may have wanted to catch someone, especially during the Super Bowl, and I know it was a bit of a concern during the Super Bowl, I don't know why it was, because neither the Patriots nor the Eagles had a player that was kneeling all season long. So why that was a concern, I have no idea. Now, mind you, let me also clarify too, when it comes to the Eagles, though they did not have any players kneeling, you had players like Malcolm Jenkins, who, sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name, I'm a little bit dry mouth, but Malcolm Jenkins raised fists high in air, who was highly active in trying to create a coalition of players who went to Capitol Hill. Malcolm Jenkins was out doing things for the community. Let's also not forget about Chris Long. Okay, Chris Long donated his entire salary of the year in regards to helping out communities and whatnot. Acts like these cannot be overlooked, so I don't want to do that to them. However, this particular recording is in regards to the quote-unquote anthem protest. This narrative about the protest has been so hijacked that, to be honest, talking about it is really not in my best interest in regards to my energy, because I already know, there is a huge subset of people that I personally know who simply do not understand the movement or do not care to understand the movement, because they quote-unquote feel so disrespected by these people who should just shut up, play football, and take their money and go home. However, we are back here again. And we are back here again not because of a player kneeling, not because of a player honestly speaking up about the issue again, but because of the NFL commissioner, and the NFL owners. So what in essence was a dead issue got sprung back to life when the NFL owners decided unanimously to come up with this new anthem policy. The policy which basically states that if you are to be on the field, that you should stand for the national anthem. If you choose to not be on the field, that is absolutely your right. But if you are going to be on the field, then you have to stand. And for those who are caught kneeling on field, they will be, and their team would be, subject to fines and penalties. That was the policy that was rolled out unanimously and out of the blue. And on that token, this was also done without the express consent of the NFL Players Association. Why that is important? It is important because in regards to manners like these, pre-game manners like these are issues that have to be collectively bargained with the Players Association. The Players Association had no idea. Now, I know there'll probably be some debate about whether or not, well, these are the owners, this is the NFL, this is their business, they have the right to do it, whatever, and the players have to follow. Well, that's not necessarily the case, okay? An example for you. The NBA has long had a policy that players will stand for the national anthem. There has definitely been a case of a player being blackballed in that regard as well. With Abdul Rauf, I can't remember the kid. I think it's Muhammad Abdul Rauf. Played for the Nuggets. In '96, he was caught not standing for the anthem. He is Muslim. It is not in his religion to do so. It wasn't for a political reason. However, since then, dude was never brought back into the NBA. However, they have always had that policy. Now, the difference between the NBA and the NFL, and the reason why people do not complain when it comes to the NBA versus the NFL is this. Though the NBA has long had that policy in regards to the national anthem, the NBA has also long been a progressive league, one that has been forefront and center in regards to allowing its players to use the platform of the basketball court to forward their concerns and their issues to their fans and to the citizens of this country. The NBA has helped forward their messages, as a matter of fact. The NFL has not been that. The NFL sticks to cancer awareness, and they'll stick to now domestic violence, even though they weren't so ho-hum on that until the Ray Rice issue blew up on that one. They still haven't really been ho-hum on PETA, let me rephrase. They haven't been ho-hum on animal abuse or whatnot, but considering how much attention Mike Vick got over the dog scandal, I could go on from that, but that's not the purpose of this recording. The purpose of this recording is about the anthem protests. And in regards to the anthem protests, the NFL once again shows that when it comes to off-the-field issues, it does not know how to handle these issues correctly and or sensibly, okay? Like I said much earlier on, this was a dead issue. Now it is alive and well again. To further this issue, the Miami Dolphins came up with a 4-game suspension policy for those who were caught kneeling. Now, this was not a part of the original agreement that had been unanimously approved by the owners. This was a team policy. So that raised flags. And then out of the blue, the NFL and the NFLPA come out with this joint statement that they were working together to figure out the anthem policy, but in the meantime, there will be no such policy put into place. Okay? Now that we've got all of that out the way, now it's time to get to the nitty-gritty of things. And that is the Dallas Cowboys. So remember last year I said around week 3 or week 4, every team had some type of demonstration in response not to police brutality, to social and racial, to social and economic injustices or whatnot, but as a show of solidarity against the president. This is really what that was. And there was not one team who, to be quite honest, was more hypocritical in their stance than the Dallas Cowboys. Okay? And I say that because there was only maybe 1 or 2 players who have even so much as put up a bald fist in the 2 years since this anthem issue came about. Okay? Anybody who knows Jerry Jones knows how he likes to toe the line, and I'm using this phrase specifically for a reason. He likes to toe the line when it comes to that anthem and that flag. He is quote unquote very patriotic. When it comes to his players, he expects them to. It's funny how we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys and how they expect how Jerry Jones expects them to behave when it comes to like pregame ceremonies and whatnot. But this mantra, this image of America's team, you have to toe the line when you wear that star helmet. Okay? You are representing not just America's team, you are representing Jerry Jones. So for Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys to come out to midfield pre-game, pre-anthem, that Monday night game against Arizona, and to kneel for all of 10 or so seconds, and then for them to come back out and then they go back to the sideline. Total Jerry Jones show-esque, okay? Complete Jerry Jones-esque. That is what he does. Now, let's fast forward to today. In a press conference today, Jerry Jones stated clearly that the Dallas Cowboys players are required to stand toe in line for the national anthem. No ifs, ands, or buts. They will stand and they will respect the flag. Okay? Those are Jerry Jones's words. Not to mention, Jerry Jones is still going to be in partnership with Papa John's. Now, for those who don't know about that issue, Papa John's, their founder, their CEO had to step down due to his use of racial slurs, which isn't really a new story considering his previous views in regards to people of color and people of a lower class. Okay, which is in part why Papa John's is losing sponsorships deals with other teams. However, the Dallas Cowboys will not be one of them. Jerry Jones owns about 100 Papa John's stores of his own, so he is fully maintaining that relationship. But getting outside of that, let's get back to the anthem protest, okay? When the NFL rolled out their anthem policy in the offseason, Roger Goodell stated that it was their idea, it was their viewpoint that the NFL players, that this would be their way of showing their love and support for country, that they would stand for the anthem because this is what reflects the views of the NFL. However, the NFL is 70+% black, okay? 70+% black. Now, this does not in no way, shape, or form imply that white players don't feel the same way that black players do. I do not know for sure, okay? There have been very few who have actually been outspoken about this particular issue. See Chris Long. Much respect to the Long family, by the way. However, the implication being by both Roger Goodell and now by Jerry Jones is that this, you standing toe in line for the anthem, this is how you show that you are patriotic. This is how you show that you love your country. And you shall do so, or else there will be consequences. That is forced patriotism, okay? You may not like to hear those words, but that is exactly what that is. That is not patriotism in the least. That is not even American, okay? People like to bring up China and North Korea and Cuba when we talk about dictatorships, when we talk about being able to do things that represent freedom. Or you don't like such and such here, well, how about you go to North Korea? How about you go to Cuba, such and such, see how you like it? And with the implication being that, you know, when you go to those places, you have to be toe in line with everything that they say and do. You do not have such freedom here. Where if that is the case, why are we mandating people, why are we mandating players when they have no collective bargaining agreement prior to, no policy prior to stand for the anthem by mandate? Why not by choice? If you love your country and you want to support your country, one of the things you can do is to stand, whether it be hand over heart, whether you do it at parade rest, however you choose to, or kneeling, however you choose to salute the flag, that is one's prerogative of their own. However, the NFL is basically stating that this is not an individual choice. This is the NFL's policy. This is the NFL stance on what is patriotism, which unfortunately is the exact opposite of patriotism. Let's not forget, there were quite a few teams who have been busted by this paid for patriotism scheme that the NFL engaged in, which started the yearly November salute to service mantra that the NFL likes to roll out every November. Okay, that's how that started. Teams were getting paid by the military, by the Department of Defense, for their shows of solidarity. Okay, now that we've hashed that out, let's get back to the nitty-gritty of it and why I'm doing this recording. Over the last couple of years, watching the NFL and watching the Cowboys in both success and in failure has been rough, in part because of this entire issue. Okay, it is hard to want to support the players who step out on the field and give it their all, week in, week out, put their bodies on the line, sacrifice times with their families and their friends to, in essence, provide us with, to be honest, I mean, granted, this is their life and this is their, their way of, expressing their passion, their way of trying to compete and win a championship but doing so is a service of entertainment to those who do not play, for those of us who are fans. Okay? This is the life that they chose. And whether we agree with it or not, they make a lot of money, in part because we have put so much value on this sport and on this now business that it demands that we pay them for putting their bodies on the line, so to entertain us at great value. So I want to support the players as much as I can. However, the blackballing of Colin Kaepernick, of Eric Reed, and others has made enjoying the product very difficult. With today's press conference, Jerry Jones and this mandate, which, by the way, he is contradicting and being hypocritical of himself, because he voted on the policy that has been since put on hold. By the way, he is going completely rogue. He is doing his own thing, but that has been Jerry Jones since Jerry Jones became the owner of the Cowboys. Let's be real. And I can go about many other commentaries in regards to Jerry Jones. Be quite honest, if Jerry Jones wasn't the owner of the Cowboys, or at the very least, if he wasn't the general manager, president of football operations for a long time, the Cowboys could have had more success, could have probably won more Super Bowls in the now 22 years since our last one. That is an argument for another day. But my entire point is that with Jerry Jones's comments today, it has made me, unfortunately, want to, I can't even say want to, I think I am going to have to rescind my status as a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. There's just no way that I can support that team so long as he is the owner with that viewpoint. Now, if he changes that in time, I will be glad to revisit. But until then, there is just no way that I can say I am proud to be a Cowboys fan while Jerry Jones is the owner. If you have dissenting thoughts, please let me know. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, share, whatever. Get back to me. I want to know your thoughts on this, okay? There's a lot of things I wanted to say that I probably would have said earlier, but in doing this free-flowing style and whatnot, I probably lost track of some thoughts that I had in my head. And I'll probably end up revisiting this issue anyway, because I actually want to go deeper into the anthem protest issue as a whole and not just focus on the Dallas Cowboys. But yeah, I will definitely do that. But in the meantime, till next time, y'all stay positive, y'all stay strong. I will talk to y'all on the next one.